Oh, definitely.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Bellport's virtual May meeting, May 15th. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To
flag
flag of the United States of America
and to
and to the
the republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To flag of the United States of America.
Thank you.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Mayor Fell. I think we have someone with their audio on. We're having technical difficulty. If thank you, Mayor Fell. I think we have someone with their audio on. We're having technical difficulty.
Okay, I think we're in good shape right now, John. Okay, John, would you do the roll call? John, could you do the roll call?
You're on mute, John.
Call?
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor Fell. Trustee Rosenberg,
here.
John, could you do the roll call?
Deputy Mayor
You're
Joseph
on mute,
Gagliano.
John.
Present, delighted to be here.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor Fell. Trustee Rosenberg,
here.
Could you do the roll call?
Deputy Mayor
You're
Joseph
on mute,
Gagliano.
John.
Present, delighted to be here.
Trustee Mackin. Thank you, Mayor.
Here.
Trustee Rosenberg,
Here.
Could you do the roll call?
Trustee Farino,
Here.
Mayor Fell,
Here.
Trustee Mackin,
Here.
very good, thank you, all present.
Thank you, John. I need a motion from the board to approve the minutes of the trustees meeting on April 20th.
So made.
Motion. Steve,
Motion.
second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll do the report from the trustees. We'll start with Mike Farino.
Just a couple of things, Ray. I'd like to thank our residents for cooperating with the social distancing regulations. I know it's difficult for them, but I think as I am in the village, everyone seems to be doing a good job. As you all know, the village operates annually on a balanced budget. There are no excess funds. Consequently, several of the needed projects not included in the budget. But with the direction of Deputy Mayor Gagliano and our highway superintendent, repairs estimated to cost $70,000 at Osborne Park were made by our highway people. This work enables the use of many residential boat slips and helps the Sailing Foundation with their Opti program. Remember, with sheltering in place, there is a significant increase in waste, especially cardboard. Please be nice to our garbage men. They're working doubly hard. Thanks, Ray.
Ray, you're on mute. You're on mute again, Ray.
Steve?
I hope everyone's doing well.
Good, thank you. Bob?
Yeah, just a quick comment apropos of Mike's comments about the garbage man and social distancing. Everybody's out. The weather's been good. We're all going a little stir crazy. And I just ask you to be careful about your trash as you walk. There does seem to be an accumulation on the streets of empty bottles and that sort of thing. And if you could just hold on to them until you get home or until you get to a trash can, it would be good for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Joe?
Yes, several things. I'm very pleased the way everyone is trying to participate. And Mike, I thank you for your support. Greatly appreciated. It's good for everyone to realize that everybody's digging in and trying to help in this challenging situation. The situation regarding Osborne Park with the sinkhole, I had been speaking with Jason, our highway superintendent, and Steve Mackin as to how we could approach this, because we don't have every piece of equipment that was needed. One of them we have to rent, and we've done that before. I think typically, Steve, we get it from HO Penn or something like that when we rent them. But anyway, all very positive. Now, from there, we learned another aspect, which is the end of Browns Lane is a challenge, as we all know. Mother Nature has really taken a toll on it over the years, and we've put together a plan, which we'll go into detail later on with our engineers and everyone involved. And I think that it solves several things. One, a great savings to the village. Number two, the safety aspect. Number three, most importantly, it allows us an opportunity to continue to maintain the safety at the end of Browns Lane. Lastly, the only item I have to bring up is I'm always concerned, and I'm a reflective responder and it takes me a while to do my research, but I am concerned about our village offices and village hall there on how we're going to treat any challenge that comes up to try and be in compliance with the ADA as it pertains to handicapped people. And I've been looking into that. And obviously this is one that's going to merit a great deal of research and development. It's great that we were able to get the funding, and we certainly want to take care of anyone that is in a challenging position. At the same time, I think it's most important to be in keeping with the type of facade that we have at the village hall. And I have recommendations that we could go to the rear of that building. That's all I have, Mayor. I'm excited about how we're dealing with New York State and all the agencies to be ready to open up at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. What I have is just go over a couple of things. I agree with the board. I'd like to thank the residents for social distancing. As I walk around and drive around the village, especially down at Osborne Park, I see the park is being used, which is wonderful, and people are social distancing from each other. As I'm walking through the streets, I see the same thing Bob has seen. And we do have to be careful as we're walking and you're drinking a bottle of water. Please hold on to it until you get home or you get to a trash can in the village. That is will be very much appreciated. I'd just like to let the community know that the governor has issued an executive order that moves our election from June 16th to September 15th. And currently, they have given us no guidance about the nominating petitions. So as soon as we get guidance about nominating petitions, we will put that on our website. Now, the process to be used for the election, we don't know about yet. The governor will give villages some guidance about that as we get closer to September 15th. I know the school districts, they're having their election, I believe it's June 9th. And what they're doing is mailing all absentee ballots home to the residents in the school district, and the residents then will vote and mail it back to the district. So we will just have to wait and see what the guidance is for the village elections in September. Also, in the governor's executive order, current elected officials will remain in office until the rescheduled elections. So Steve, you and Joe will remain in office, and they will remain in office until the village officials have had the opportunity to approve the election, certify the election results, which if the election is the 15th, I believe we have a village board meeting in a week after that. And that's when the election results will be certified. So that's the update on the election.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, we also have the issue of the registration for the particular election of the residents who are not registered to vote in Suffolk County. I assume we
Right.
have no guidance on that, and we're going to have to deal with that as well.
Yes, I will write send an email to Suffolk County about that, and I'm sure they will give us guidance in that. But I know the guidance will not come tomorrow or the next day. It'll probably be sometime in mid-July when that guidance is received. But we will make sure that we have that guidance, and then whatever guidance we get, that's how we'll operate. I'm sure there'll be some kind of either registration through email or some other kind of circumstance that they'll approve. But thank you for reminding me about that, Bob, and I'll make sure that I let Suffolk County know. Thank you. And that's basically the golf course remains open, and it has been very successful. The tennis courts are opening this weekend. They'll open on, I believe, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And they have developed, the tennis commission has developed guidelines, which I've shared with the board, and those guidelines have been shared with all the members, so they will be expected to abide by the guidelines that the tennis commission has set. And like our golf guidelines, Suffolk County was very interested in our golf guidelines. I sent them to them, and they forwarded our golf guidelines to other county courses. And they asked for our tennis guidelines, and I did send them the tennis guidelines. So hopefully they will be able to send those out to the different county tennis courts, and they will be able to use them. So that's all I have now. So we'll get into the agenda. A resolution to approve the following payments: general fund checking abstract report 12,000, number 12.53 vendors, general fund expenditures $114,942.73, and the enterprise fund expenditure $9,230.31 cents. Total is $124,173.04. Approve the enterprise fund checking abstract report number 12, 13 vendors totaling $87,070.12. And approve the capital fund checking abstract report number 12, 2 vendors totaling $321,702.55. And that is the capital fund checking abstract is from the dock project, paying those vendors at the dock project. So I need a resolution to approve a general fund checking abstract report, the enterprise fund checking abstract report, and the capital fund checking abstract report. I need a motion.
So move.
Bob, second.
Second.
Joe Gagliano, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2 is to allow the treasurer to make the necessary budget transfers as listed in Exhibit 3. I need a motion.
Motion.
Joe, second. Mike?
Second.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution to establish a capital project for the Village Hall ADA compliant ramp to be funded by the 2019 Community Development Block Grant that the village was awarded. And this is not approving the project, you're approving the capital expense for the project. Is that right, John?
Yes, we're putting together, the board needs to state that we're establishing the capital project at its beginning.
Great. And that is for $35,000. I need a resolution.
So move.
Resolution.
Bob,
Second.
second. Steve Mackin, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A resolution to establish the project for the community center ADA compliant ramp to be funded again by the 2018 Community Development Block Grant for $33,400. I need a motion.
Motion.
Mike, second.
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 Steve Mackin, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approve, I need a resolution number 5, a resolution to approve.
Excuse me, Mayor
2020
Fowl.
Yes,
At this time, I believe we wanted to continue regarding the treasurer's department and the.
oh, I'm sorry, yes,
Yes,
thank you, John. Ally, would you give us your report?
Sorry, I think we're referring to the questions that I received a few weeks ago on the audit report. We just wanted to go through these questions, and we appreciate that if people are taking the time to look at last year's audit report and come back to us with questions and make sure that they have a thorough understanding. Previously being an auditor, you don't always know if anybody's really looking at your work. So it's nice to know that people are taking a look at it. The first question was regarding the net loss in the enterprise fund of $57,195 reported in last year's audit report. And Ray, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, well, I'll start and then you can fill in. That is depreciation and OPEB, which is the depreciation is of the buildings on the site, and OPEB is health insurance liability. And both of those are not cash items. They're basically audit items. So although it shows that the depreciation OPEB costs are there, they are really not a cash loss to the enterprise fund. So do you want to add anything to that, Ally?
No, I think that sums it up.
Right. And OPEB is the health insurance liability. And what that is, I think we've explained this to the board, but what that is if the village went out of business tomorrow, the village would be the village would have a liability to fund the health insurance of the employees until they turned at least, I think it's 62. Is that when
I think it's the retirees, Ray.
the retirees? Yeah, and then we have to fund their health insurance until they turn. I don't know if it's 62 or 65 when Medicare takes over. So that is both for the village and for the enterprise fund, the golf course. Both have the OPEB liabilities. Okay, second question is, does this mean the enterprise fund lost money? And the answer is no. The depreciation in OPEB is not a cash function, so it is just a auditing tool that has to be reported in the audit. And then depreciation is credited to the enterprise fund, but no depreciation to the general fund. Actually, the enterprise fund is just an accounting fund. It doesn't own property. There is no property. All the buildings on the golf course are owned by the village. And again, the enterprise fund is just accounting. Do you want to add anything to that, Ali?
Sure. So just to expand on that a little bit, like Ray is saying, it's an accounting fund, and the enterprise fund and the general fund are two different types of funds. The general fund is considered a governmental fund, and in those funds, you don't report depreciation or fixed assets. You report depreciation and fixed assets. So that's why you see the depreciation expense on the enterprise fund, and you wouldn't see it in a general fund.
Okay, next question is currently what is the paid membership of the golf course program? Currently, the village has collected $1,319,882 in membership fees. We have 61 junior members, 380 members, 75 village residents, and we have $95,000 in the assessment section of the enterprise fund, and that is $250 charge to each member to do projects at the golf course. So that totals $95,000. We have of that $1,319,882, 2/12 of that will be returned to this year, the budget that we're the enterprise fund budget that we're currently in. So 2/12 of that will be returned to this year's budget. That will be $219,980. And then we move forward for next year, and that $1,319,882 will be minus the $219,980. And then next year at this time, we will, the golf course membership budget will get 2/12 from next year's revenue. It is confusing, but the reason they do that is because the golf course membership starts April. So you have April and May, which is 2 months. And then we get into the fiscal year of the village, which is June 1st. So it's been like this forever. 2/12 of every membership total goes to the previous year's golf budget. So those are the facts. It's confusing. Do any board members have questions about that? Do they understand it? Do you all understand that? Okay, great. The next is, Ali, if you'll answer where is the $1,053,011 dollars in the enterprise fund deposited as of May 31st, 2019? Ali?
Right, so the enterprise fund has its own bank account. The only, there's some expenses that get paid through the general fund, as we've discussed. If it comes on one bill, electricity, water, anything that is just one bill and we have to allocate it between the two funds. And the golf memberships that are collected in Village Hall, they are deposited into the general fund bank account. And then we make transfers back to the enterprise fund. But our accounting system is able to capture all of that, and it records a receivable and payable between the funds whenever those types of transactions happen. So to answer your question, there is a separate enterprise fund bank account, but we do have to make transfers to move any money that gets collected in the general fund and then move it over. That's something that once we're getting back to normal and I'm back in Village Hall full time, I want to have make some changes so that the memberships that are collected are going directly into the enterprise fund and we'll no longer have to do that transfer. But that's just something that'll take some time to work out with our credit card vendor and our accounting software vendor, but that's something that we're going to change.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, Ally, right now, if a golf member comes in and pays their membership or pays anything with a credit card, that goes into the general fund budget and then it's transferred to the enterprise budget. But next year you're going to set that up so that credit card purchase goes directly into the enterprise budget. I think that's the best way to do it.
Ray, and I don't mean to interrupt, but John, we just got a phone number pop up on our screen. Did everyone get
Notice
that?
that. I don't know what.
No, I didn't see it.
No,
I have a,
No, yeah, Dave sees it. I also see it. I'm not certain.
I know some of these meetings have been hacked and it's actual cell phone number. And if this is being broadcast, we're also broadcasting this person's cell phone number.
I was able to get rid of it. I did notice it. Thank you. I wasn't certain how to get it off the
Thank you.
system.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about that?
I just wanted to mention that our bank is Bridgehampton National Bank. Yes, Bridgehampton National Bank, yeah. So,
Mike?
I want to thank you and Ally for, doing all this work to show our residents clearly where this money goes. Thank you so much.
Right. The next question is the interfund transfers from general fund receives 316,647 from where? I don't think that has anything to do with the enterprise fund, does it, Ally?
No, so that's one of the tables that's in the footnotes to our financial statements. One of our required footnotes is to summarize the interfund payables. So that's your general fund, capital fund, trust and agency, and enterprise funds. So those balances that were referred to are receivables and payables between the general fund, capital fund, and trust and agency fund. It's mainly made up of money that was owed back to the general fund from the capital fund for projects that we hadn't received money on in the capital fund yet, whether it being bond proceeds or grant money that was paid by the general fund originally and then repaid to the general fund once those grants or bonds come in.
And so that's like that's like the grant we get from New York State, the water grant, the repaving grant for, let's say $475,000 for repaving Belport Lane and Station Road. We'll pay that. And then when we receive it back, it's we transfer the money back into the general fund. Is that correct?
Right. So it's all within the village's funds. It's not owed to anybody outside the village. It's all just between those funds.
Okay, board members, any questions about that? And the last question is, why aren't the lease license contracts with Suffolk County, South Country Caterers and Peters on the Village paid to the village general fund? That's a discussion we had at the last time we answered those questions. And what I have begun it. I'm not finished it yet, but coming up with what it is that the general fund, the enterprise fund, what are the things that the enterprise fund would charge back to the village from things they do for Peters on the Green and the South Country Caters. For example, this is the best example. The Parkland, they charge us a fee to maintain the golf course, but also in that fee is maintaining the area around Peters on the Green, maintaining all of the shrubbery and all of the area around the South Country Caters. So it's things like that we'll put together, and we'll come up with a number. And I think that probably the money received from at least the South Country Caterers, I think when they first started that, I think it was all put into the golf course enterprise fund, because of the fact that South Country Caterers really had a major part of the financial health of the golf course, because they ran the grill room, they ran all of the catering for our men's club activities, ladies club activities, and all the activities for our Monday tournaments. So we'll take a look at that and see if there's a better way to do it. But at this point, that's, I think, why it was done. At least that's all I can come up with, is that they were so involved in the golf course and the enterprise funds maintaining their programs, that I guess at that time it made sense to those people to have the money go into the enterprise fund. But as we know right now, South Country Caters, they do not operate the grill room. Peters operates the grill room. And when South Country Caters operated the grill room, the mandate was that they could not allow the public into the grill room. It was only golf members and village residents. So with Peters on the Green, it's a little bit different. They do deal with the golf course members and the village residents, but it's also open to the public. So we'll have to look at that and see how that looks once we begin to really dig into it. And then I'll have a report for the board when I'm finished. Any questions about that?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next is the last thing is the retroactive money that we did a lot of work at the golf course this year, and we put a new putting green in, a new tee. We did some work on the ninth tee, and that was came to $86,000. As you can see, we have $95,000 collected in assessments. So that $95,000 assessment money will pay for that $86,000 renovation to the ninth tee. So any questions about that? Okay. John, thank you for slowing me down on the resolutions. Ally, I think you can leave unless any board members have a question for Ally
No,
before she
thank you,
goes.
Ally.
Okay, great, Ally, thanks.
Have a good night,
Have a good night.
everyone.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good night.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we'll go back to resolution number 5. Approve the 220 tennis membership fees. Each membership is increased by $20, Exhibit 4. And the increase, the $20 increase is to pay for the computer system that lets tennis members call in and arrange for a court time. It's a little more expensive this year, so they're adding the $20 expense to that. Any questions on the tennis membership? Okay, I need a motion to approve the tennis rates.
So made.
Steve, second. Bob, thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries. Approve the salary continuation program during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, Exhibit 5. Any questions about that?
Could you explain to our residents why we didn't put our people on unemployment insurance, which they would then qualify for this $600, whatever it is.
Well, I think if we had done that, they'd still be waiting for their money. I think that they're
Thank you.
moving very slowly, and also we're using our employees. They're reporting to the village hall. They do stagger their time, so all 5 of them are not in village hall at the same time. But at the time that we did this, we thought that it would be because they're working at home. It would be in the best interest of the village and our employees to continue paying them. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, John, do we need a motion to continue that, or is that, John?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mayor Fell. If there's the resolution is missing on the agenda, it should be there.
Okay, so just, I'll need a motion to approve the salary continuation program during COVID-19. A motion,
Motion.
Mike, second,
Second,
Joe, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Updates. John, you want to begin the updates with the village reopening plan, Ho-Hum Beach? Mike, I know that you've been working on that. And kids camp. I'll start with kids camp. As of right now, we have no guidance in the state about summer kids programs. It's expected by the end of the month, which is in 2 weeks. So as soon as we get that, we can make decisions on kids camp. I know that I've talked to Bob Crowley. He's putting together a program where the kids can, instead of all of them meeting at the community center in the beginning of the day, he would have them report to 5 different locations. The community center, a group would report to the community center, a group would report to the park across from the community center, a group would report to field number 1 that we use from the Catholic Church, and a group would report to field number 2 at the Catholic Church. So right now there's 4 areas, and perhaps we can have 20 kids report to each area and have a smaller camp. But we're just at this point, we're waiting for guidance from the state. As of right now, we don't have that. So that's kids camp. Ho-Hum, Mike, you want to talk about Ho-Hum?
Let's talk about the work that was done by Fred Hall and Eric Everett. They're both members of the Waterfront Commission. You suggested that they come up with some ideas, and we have a list of many things that they would like us to think about. And John, shall we just go down the list, or do you want to make comments about it first?
Yes, if you could continue with the list, but just mentioning that as you're mentioning right now with Fred Hall, who is part of Waterfront Commission, along with Eric Everett, also on the commission. We're very thankful that they put this list together. Much of this we've been considering, but again, their background, especially Fred Hall, we are appreciative of the list. And we're going to basically expand upon this list. It's a very good core. So thank you, Mike. Yes, go ahead.
So once again, they reiterate the 6-foot spacing, the necessity for masks to be worn on the ferry, masks to be worn on the boardwalk, the importance of social distancing, the restrooms having limited openings, the concession stand, they suggest not being open. They suggest there be no dock attendant. They want to limit the people getting on and off the beach. They talk about buying your tickets and restricting the time you are available to stay on the beach as a possible way of monitoring the flow on and off the beach. They asked the question, should there be a surcharge? If it's necessary for the ferry to only permit 20 or 15 people per trip, should the fee to go over on the ferry be increased? You know, after looking at this list and then comparing it to what the county sent to us, the county is telling us that we need to maintain responsibility for the beach, for the restrooms. If we open the concession stand, for the concession stand. They have specific requirements about signage. So what we're going to have to come up with is a plan, and it may necessitate hiring additional people, having someone at the dock explaining to people as they get off the ferry, you must put on your mask. You must not get too close to each other walking up the boardwalk. Someone at the beach saying, please, you may not sit together. You must have 6-foot distance. Someone at the bathrooms who can go in and clean after each use and then do a complete cleaning every night. Someone who can handle the refuse. So there are a lot of things that John is scheduling that will all be discussed before we can actually have an opening. Now, John, you want to talk about the ferry?
Yes. Would you like me to begin?
Yep.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's just slow down a second. Let's go back to all that Mike just covered. Is that okay, Mayor?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I spoke with Mike earlier today, and I support everything he has said. There's a couple of things I just want to get clarified. We have to come up with, and Mayor, I've spoken to you about this, we have to come up with the appropriate signage that we need now to embrace what the governor is telling us and everyone is telling us that notes how they're to, have their mask, et cetera. Number two, when Mike was talking about those that are riding the ferry, they can't get on the ferry unless they're wearing a mask. And there shouldn't be a question when they're getting off of it about wearing the mask. And then for us to try and bear the responsibility to be sure that everyone is safe. And now we get to everything regarding the bathrooms and everything like that. Remember, we need health department approval for everything that we have over there so that we are always in compliance. They do a testing of, our water and everything like that. So I want to be sure that nobody thinks we're going to shortcut any of these, because the safety of our residents and everyone is our prime concern. Mike, I thought you did a great job, Mike.
Ray, might I make a suggestion?
Yes, David.
One of the things we might consider, and if you want me to do a little bit more research, I will, is hiring a private security, which to deal specifically with the COVID requirements that we need to, because if we use village employees and the like, not reimbursable under FEMA. However, I believe, and I can do some more research, that if we hire a private security firm strictly to deal with the ramifications of COVID-19, those expenses are reimbursable through FEMA.
Good idea, Dave.
Yeah, it's a good idea. That's a great idea, David. I think you're right. If the expenses because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they are, you can apply for reimbursement from FEMA.
One thing more, if I can interrupt. We currently do not have the beach open, but there are a number of people going over there. We saw pictures this past weekend of a significant group of people congregating. And I'm listening to other boaters who are not village residents who are going over there. I think it behooves us now to put up signage, to even put yellow tape across it that our beach is closed. I would suggest we do not put our floating docks in until we have a plan of when we're going to open. I'm done.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Mike. First of all, we can't put our floating docks in because we can't get to them yet. Of course, all of the residents, their boats are not in the marina yet. So I think we should try to tie the opening of the beach to the opening of the dock. How does the board feel about that?
Depends when it is.
Right, that's true.
I think we have to proceed slowly in that when the marina is open, I'm not certain, for instance, with the ferry, we need a Coast Guard inspection. They're not scheduling at this time. So that's mandatory. Drug testing is mandatory. Quest is overwhelmed with the COVID testing. So our employees will not be able to have the required drug testing until we can schedule them. So we're starting these processes in anticipation of opening, but until we get clearance, and as Deputy Mayor Joseph Gagliano said, always with safety being paramount, we just have to move appropriately. We have to be resilient. We have to wait for guidance. But it doesn't mean we can't plan. And that's one of the reasons why we're putting together policies and procedures in anticipation when we can move forward.
Well, I think that's true, John. I think we have to begin to develop our guidelines and have them ready to go when we open the beach. So I think that we should continue to put these guidelines together. And Mike, if you would take the ones that Fred and Eric sent and just put them in some kind of finalized state and then send them to us, and then we can edit, and then over a couple times back and forth, we'll have our plans in place. So if you do that, that would be great.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So any other comments by board members? Okay, we'll continue working on getting the beach open. We'll get signage together to be put in place, and then we'll move forward when the time is right for the beach to open. We'll be ready to go. So I appreciate all the help that Mike, that you and John are working on, and I'd like to visit the ferry again. With the ferry, going over to the beach is not, I don't see that as the problem. 15 or 18 people in the ferry going over, they make trips. That's not a problem. I think the problem is coming home. Everyone wants to stay at the beach till 4. The lifeguards are there till 4. So they want to stay there until 4, and then everyone wants to come off the beach at one time. We can't do that. So I was talking to some other ferry companies, and what they are doing when they have schedules such as that is the ticket that you buy to go over also has a ticket and tells you what time you have to come home. Just for example, you take the 10 o'clock ferry over, you have to take the 3 o'clock ferry home. You take the 11 o'clock ferry over, you take the 4 o'clock ferry home. You take the 12 o'clock ferry over, you take the 5 o'clock ferry home, and something like that. So I need, if the board members would think about that and how we'll do that. John, if you'd ask Mark Lully to consider that, because we can't run the ferry, if there's 100 on a Saturday, if there's 104, 105 people wanting to come home at 4:30, first of all, the social distancing down there, they'll all be sitting around waiting for the ferry, and the ferry will be running till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and we can't do that. So if you would ask Mark to think about a way to handle that, that would be great. We begin to think about that. Any comments by board members?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Joseph Gagliano talking. I believe that what you just said, Ray, is paramount. And Mike, I think you ought to include in your dialogue when you're having it to also include Mark with everything that you're talking about
Yes.
over at Ho Hum and everything that Ray just brought up regarding the ferry, and also get Katie directly involved for all the obvious reasons, because when we get to the point regarding taking tickets and everything like that, I think those two people need to be added so that this way John isn't bearing the whole responsibility for all of this alone.
Good
Okay,
idea.
any other comments? Okay, John, the next item.
Yes, upcoming tax payments due under COVID-19 pandemic crisis. There has been discussion. We're still awaiting guidance. As we know, our tax bills go out end of May to be paid by July 1st. And we're seeking guidance if that shall change. Right now, we're not really hearing any changes in order. However, there is a great discussion at the county level and also in Albany.
Right, the village cannot automatically say, okay, we're gonna defer tax payments for 15 days or 20 days. It has to, the state has to give us the authority to do that. So at this point, what I'm being told is sometime this week, there should be some guidance about that. And of course, what they're looking at is trying to coordinate it with banks who collect the escrow money during the year. They're trying to put it together where the state says, okay, if we delay the tax payments for 15 days or 20 days or 21 days, the banks don't get that privilege. The banks who have been collecting the escrow money all year, they have it, and they should pay not only the villages, but the county and the township. So that's all being worked through a state committee. And we should have guidance on that. They said by the middle to the end of this week. So we'll keep an eye on what's happening there.
Okay, just to weigh in on that, Mr. Mayor, you asked me to participate in the joint conference dialogue that went on with all the mayors of the municipalities of Long Island. And in doing so at that meeting, it was made abundantly clear that legally the governor is the only person that can adjust this whole thing. And a lot of us spoke up that if there was a way to give relief or delay in regard to it, and it was made very clear by the governor's representative that only the governor has the ability and the right to do that none of the municipalities do. And that was loud and clear. But a lot of us tried to bring it up. But anyway.
Okay,
Joseph,
thank you.
Joseph, if there's a shortfall in revenue, will the state make that up?
Everybody brought that up and they didn't have an answer, Mike. That was one of the first things that came up, and especially the seashore communities like Fire Island and the east end of the island brought that up unequivocally, that how are they going to survive if they can't get their tax revenue in a timely manner the way they're supposed to. But the shortfall, no one touched on it, meaning that there would be relief from the state governance.
You can do it.
Okay, any other questions about that? If we get guidance from the state sometime this week, I will forward that to all
Great.
board members. Okay, upcoming election process. I think I went over that in my opening. Any board members have any questions about that?
No.
Okay, Bellport Marina and Dock. Mike, you and John?
John, why don't you explain what's going on with Adone, how he's progressing there? And once
Yes.
again, I'm happy with the work they're doing, but I mean, there are
Yes.
things we can't control.
Right.
John, explain it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mike. We have our weekly meetings this morning. We likewise had the Monday morning meeting. It has Mike Farino as liaison for the waterfront, our waterfront engineer, Adone Austin of Rising Tide, and then Bob Terry, who is the contractor and owner of Terry Contracting and Materials. This morning's meeting, it was explained that last week they made great progress. There was rain. Rain has been one of the difficulties in this process because we're working on the storm water drain process, the whole operation. As I've mentioned before, it's worth repeating that there's a positive conveyance that starts way up in our village to the north, goes down through Main Street, then down Bellport Lane, that empties out into the bay at our marina. The provisions of the FEMA project is for a water treatment plant, which is being installed as we speak. It's almost finished. They've had great difficulty with all the rain that we've had this spring, late winter, spring, because those waters continue to flow down to the main dock. So due to DEC codes and standards, those waters can no longer flow into the bay. So they have to remediate before they go down into the bay. And that's causing delays, or it had caused delays, but we are making good progress now. And they're mentioning, of course, the next phase, which we know is the electrical, and then the resurfacing so that we can open our marina.
Okay, the board members have any questions? Mike, you want to add anything to that?
Just to emphasize that they are working very hard. They're here on Saturdays. They work each day. They start before 7. They work until 4 in the afternoon. They're really doing an excellent job. And I don't think any of us should be critical if it's not done in the hoped for time that we had projected initially. They're doing the best they can.
Okay, thank you for that report, Mike and John. Other dock projects, Joe, you talked a little bit about the Osborne Park dock, Rowboat Beach bulkhead, and that has been repaired by the village highway department, which is great. We're very appreciative of that. And I know, Joe, that was your idea, and you followed through on it. And I think it came out very well for the village. So thank you. Next is the Bellport High School contacted me, and I think I sent information to all the board members about their idea. So they would like to have graduation, have a car procession that starts at the middle school and goes to the high school, and then they would have a drive-through where they will get their diplomas. And each graduate would be allowed to bring one car and family members in the car. So they would have, I guess, 5 or 6 people that they could have with them for the graduation. And the procession would start somewhere around 6 to 6:15 and go down into the village along South Country Road, out of the village, through Brookhaven, Hamlet, and on South Country Road. And then once they get to the high school, they would go into the high school and receive their diplomas. I don't have full details on this. It's not our graduation. It's the high school's graduation, and they will keep us informed about the plans as it moves forward. They had just asked us, would the village allow that to happen through the village? And basically, I said to them, look, any way that we can make this a memorable experience for the kids that are graduating, we'll be happy to help out in any way we can and cooperate with what they're doing. So that's where that is right now. I don't have too much. I do not have too many more details about it. I think they were just I think they were probably contacting the village to see if the village would be amenable to it. I know once they get out of the village on South Country Road, they're gonna have to deal with the Suffolk County Police Department, because the Suffolk County Police will have to make sure that the South Country Road is closed during that time. So I assume they've contacted the police, and now they're going to put that all together. Hopefully, they can develop a plan that is that will provide a memorable experience for the kids that are graduating this year from Belport High School, South Country High School. So do board members have any questions?
Yeah, just one, Ray. Joseph asking, Ray, the Suffolk County Police, who's taking the lead on the policing part, I imagine, not us in terms of our code or anything. Is that correct?
No, well, our code will be involved in the village,
Right.
closing
Okay, I just
Station
wanted to be
Road,
clear on that.
and the police will help with that. But again, until I get more of the details from the high school principal,
I'm on again.
I don't know. They are putting together this graduation program for the kids, and they said they would keep us informed as they move along. But it will be Thursday, the normal graduation, Thursday, June 25th, and the rain date will be Friday, June 26th, if it's raining. So
Many high schools have opted to do this. Steve, do you have a graduate in this 12th
Yeah, my
grade?
son Ryan is graduating this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very good, Steve.
Thank you.
You'll be in one of the cars.
I will be.
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Have they said anything to the parents yet, or the students?
Yes, a mailer went out. I'll share it with you, executive, if you like.
Okay, great.
Mr. Mayor, I would like it if our board and our village could encourage all of our village residents, for no other reason, to stand on the sidewalks and applaud these young people as they pass.
I think, Mike, that is probably not going to happen because of social distancing. I don't think they want to invite a lot of people to be on the sideline in the village because of that. But as I said, I don't know. I haven't gotten the details yet from them, so I don't know what they're planning.
Okay.
Okay. That is all I have on the agenda. So I just need a motion to go into executive session. Motion.
So moved.
So,
Steve Mackin, second.
second,
Bob Rosenberg, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will go into executive session. Thank you very much, all residents, for viewing our meeting, and we hope that you all stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience and support. Just an added comment, if you could look to your email, you'll find the information for the teleconference to begin our executive session. Thank you. Thank you again.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.